Have you ever felt like you were being treated differently than others around you just because you weren't the same as them? Maybe you weren't being treated differently, but unfairly perhaps? Maybe it was because you aren't the same gender as them, or maybe you don't have the same physical abilities, or you aren't the same race, religion, age, weight, sexual orientation, or whatever else. Being treated unfairly is never fun, but when it's because of something that's just part of who you are, it's more than unfair, it's discrimination. But what is discrimination? Technically speaking, the definition of discrimination is the unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex, according to the Oxford Dictionary. Notice how it says especially on the grounds of. Discrimination isn't limited to race, age, or gender. It's a subjective definition. It also doesn't say anything along the lines of action of prejudice against minorities or the suppressed. People that typically belong to majorities, such as a straight, healthy, Christian white male, can also be victim to discrimination. This is called reverse discrimination. Reverse discrimination is defined as the practice or policy of favoring individuals belonging to groups known to have been discriminated against previously, also from the Oxford Dictionary. Regardless of what kind of discriminating is happening, how do we as people tolerate it? Why would anybody do something so vile, and where are they learning to do such a thing? The unfortunate answer to that question is that it is taught to us when we are simply kids. Just like a sponge, children's minds absorb everything that is going on around them, and they tend to learn most from their parents. Now, I don't want to believe parents are giving their children lessons on who to treat worse than who, but have you ever heard the saying, actions speak louder than words? Well, let's be honest, when it comes to any verbal lesson, little kids have the attention span of a goldfish. But when it comes to how people act, oh, they're all eyes and ears. Don't get me wrong, it's not only from their parents. The Psych 424 blog by Penn State states that many TV shows and books they grow up watching have hidden discrimination. It's everywhere. Notice things even as small as unequal representation and how that might affect a child's perspective on the real world. So how are we supposed to address something that seems like such an inevitable issue? Truthfully, the most we can do is either 1, act with kindness, or 2, correct it when you see it, whether it be from you, the child, or someone else. However, there are a few different acts that were written to prevent discrimination in the legal system, including the Fair Housing Act, which protects people from discrimination when they are renting or buying a home, getting a mortgage, seeking housing assistance, or engaging in other housing-related activities. The Civil Rights Act of 1964, which ended segregation in public places and banned employment discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. The Age Discrimination in Employment Act of 1967, which protects certain applicants and employees of 40 years of age and older from discrimination on the basis of age in hiring, promotion, discharge, compensation, or in terms, conditions, or privileges of employment. The Americans with Disabilities Act, which is a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all areas of public life, including jobs, schools, transportations, and all public and private places that are open to the general public. Sometimes we as people fail to realize the harm that is actually done unto others through discrimination. There's actually a recent study done, conducted by professors at UCLA, that illustrated the real outcomes of long-term discrimination in a person's life. They studied a group of their students and paid attention specifically to the rate at which they received discrimination and the rate at which they were stressed. To absolutely no one's surprise, the two were linked. The more discrimination, the more stress. One researcher even stated it can have effects ranging from low self-esteem to a higher risk for developing stress-related disorders, such as anxiety or depression. They even go as far to say that it can be related to substance abuse, such as alcoholism or even drug abuse. So what is discrimination? It is a hate crime that needs to come to an end, and the best way to work towards that goal is education on the matter, which I hope I was able to share with you today.